broken baker, where crimes are baked in every show. Mysteries rise and truth unfolding. Ready, set, it's time to go. We stand the time to go. Whipping through this battering news, mixing stories, solving the lies. In this kitchen, secrets are broken with a spark in our eyes. In the broken baker's kitchen, the secrets crumble like sunrise. We'll sift the blues to find the rules. With a spark in our eyes, broken rise. Broken rise. Welcome to the broken baker. Get ready. Let's go.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, what if any you are, and welcome to this stream about a case that I apparently will be covering, even if I said I wouldn't, because it is the Ross trial, the Alec Baldwin trial, the second part of the Ross trial, whatever you want to call it, about an incident that happened on a film set. And if Alec Baldwin is guilty for pulling the trigger on a pew pew, even though he claims he didn't do it, and that it apparently isn't his job to make sure that pew pews aren't dangerous when he pulls the trigger on them, if he did it. I haven't looked much into to the trial. Let's be honest. I'm gonna go into this almost cold. Of course, I did some research because a lot of people in chat have been saying, "Can you please do it?" And I said, "Sure, Jamie, if you stop yelling." And then I read up a bit about it, and then I got the feeling that this case isn't only about an actor who might think he's a little more than he is. It also kind of seems like there was some inklings of a two-tiered justice system going on in this one, where Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armorer who apparently put live rounds into the pew pew, got charged. She has already been sentenced 18 months in prison, have had her trial, but they kept charges up against her while they took them away for Alec Baldwin, and then after a backlash, charged him again. So to me, that seemed kind of like one of them is a pink-haired kind of weirdo who didn't really know what she was doing and didn't keep a movie set secure. And the other one is a former well-known actor. Now, let's be honest, he's more known as being a political advocate. That's where he gets most of his notoriety these days. But he's also the guy who played my favorite version of Jack Ryan in the Hunt for Red October. So it's kind of an interesting thing to watch, but it's also a case where, well, it seems like he has a bit of a god complex. The way I see it, and as Celestial Force says, Hollywood has been getting by with Smith far too long. It seemed like he was about to get away with Smith, but tomorrow will be the last pretrial hearing. Tuesday will be the selection of the jury, and possibly Wednesday already will be opening statements. It's going to be a 9-day trial, which would fit perfectly because that'll be just around the time when I have to go back and cover that hearing in the Karen Reed case. So it'll fit perfect into that schedule. Nothing else has really come up. But let's say hey to all you lovely people out here, because I went on a talk. And Delhi has all the discoveries, 200 gigabytes. Oh, that's a lot. That's why I go into it cold. I don't do homework. and Irish. Helen from Holland. Celestial Force. Food Fairy. Oh, finally you can catch us live. Hey Melissa, how you doing? And Federowski. And Miss Butterfly. Maybe Mrs. Hey Phoenix. Dream Suburb. Sounds good. And Mom of 10. Hey, yeah. That's how you say hey all in Swedish. Hey Debbie. And Wendy. So good to see you. And Iris have changed her name back. Thank you. I don't know much about the case either, so we'll just do a quick rummage around so we can go in kind of knowing what it's about. But I can already tell you, and if you want people who have far, far, far more knowledge in this case, Andrew Baranka and Ian Ronkel, if you want people who know everything about guns, Second Amendment, everything like that, I highly recommend watching them. They are far more knowledgeable about the laws in America as what, because there's also a Second Amendment possibly component, and I know nothing about that because we can't really have pew pew sticks. But also, I just been to the great states of America, and there's a lot of pew pews around there, and I absolutely didn't do anything with it because it would probably be illegal. But if I was to handle any pew pew sticks, I remember from when I was in the military, the first thing you do if you go and you get anything put in your hands is pull the slide back and say, "Yep, nothing in it," because it's my responsibility when I have it in my hands. I don't know what the guy did with it before. I could stand there and say, "Well, it was the armorer at the barracks. He said it's fine," but it's still my responsibility because I am now the one holding it. You check it, make sure nothing's in it. And if you go, we have you do exercises where you have blanks in. You still check every blank, make sure that it's not live rounds because accidents can happen, mistakes can be made. That's what we were taught in the Danish military. I would think in America that's how you grow up if you have anything to do with pew pews is check the chamber, check the ammo. But apparently in Hollywood it's someone else's fault. Well, she's behind the scenes yelling. Ah, Food Fairy, you're so nice. Hey, Kim. I'm in stormy northeast Oklahoma. Oh, we had a small tornado today. We don't have many of those. Hey, Kim. I just said hey to you once. Why did I do it again? I also wonder if Paw Paw would check a pew pew if handed it by Alex Murdoch. Probably. Yes, and he's widely known for his temper. He attacks journalists regularly. And that's why it can be interesting to watch him in the trial. I know there's a police interview. I've watched parts of it where he cries a lot, but as I remember, he's also kind of a douche. So if there's a pretrial motion tomorrow, Tuesday, we can do a stream watching that interview and see what we have to work with here. Hey, Jill. And Holly Mac. Lefty. Hey, Sebastian. Can you send me a fax? No. I don't own a fax. I never owned a fax. I have an email address you can send stuff to. Hey, son. Not a fan of Baldwin. I liked him in Red October. Well, I know almost nothing, but that's the good part of going into this case, because then you're a blank slate. You're not already have not already determined what you believe. Hey, 3BS. Same in Finland. Always check. Yeah, it's your responsibility, and Well, it's YouTube speak because we can't say the other word because YouTube don't like talk about that one. Well, I love them too, but I can't have them. Exactly. Safety first is always your responsibility. No matter how many armorers, how many safety people, how many stuntmen, how many safety coordinators is on a set, you are the one. And of course, accidents do happen. We know from the Brandon Lee, that was the blockage you put in the barrel that a blank pushed out. As far as I remember, it was back in the 90s. I'm not 100% sure, but apparently because you put a block in the barrel and that got pushed out by a blank. Accidents do happen, but in this case, so many, according to what I read, and we don't know because we have to see it in court, so many safety measures was just tossed out because it was a low budget movie. He was the director of it, he or producer of it, and he's again his temper shows off at a few points. Um, there may be some argument if he weren't in the position he was in, and if he had actually done the safety training, and if he was supposed to pull the trigger, that he might not be responsible. Yes, that's another thing because the scene he was practicing didn't call for him doing this, and he claims he didn't put his finger within the finger guard. But let's get to some of the evidence I found out there. This is the final scene.
Hutchins ever filmed Alec Baldwin rehearsing a shooting scene. Moments later, the gun was fired, killing her and injuring the film's director.
I don't know much about pew-pews, but that's clearly within the finger guard. This is a rehearsal. So at least in this shot, he had it within the finger guard. But if they did another rehearsal where the accident happened and he claims I didn't do it, well, that will be up for the state prosecutor to prove. But to me, this is clearly a finger within the finger guard. And I was also taught this is your first safety. You always hold it. If you have the pew here, you keep it up here along. I muted myself. Along the top, you don't put it within the trigger guard. So this to me looks like he could possibly not tell the truth. Yeah, and he made Helena's husband an executive producer because there have been a civil suit. That civil suit was they made an agreement, so we don't know what's in it, but apparently the husband was made an executive producer on it. How many? I believe one, but one is enough. It went through. Helena Hutchins, who's the cinematographer, and then Joel Sousa was also injured, but I believe it passed to her and into him. But again, I have not studied this to the fullest. They usually do that in westerns. Yeah, you usually do it if you have a clear set or if you need it. But when you just draw, there's no reason to have it within the trigger guard. Well, again, there's a difference between doing the real shot, which also would, in my opinion, have him checking the pew before he does anything, and then doing a rehearsal. Because you can do a dry run with a pointy finger just as well as you can do a dry run with a bent finger. In this day and age, perfect replicas can be made. Most of them are replicas. I think actually Brandon Herrera bought this exact pistol, which is a replica gun made predominantly for movies. So that's a thing. Well, CGI doesn't look good. And again, remember, tons of movies are made every year. Tons of movies with tons of pew-pews is made every year. So don't make one idiot ruin it for everyone else. Yeah, and he's cheap and CGI is very expensive. This is the actual footage. This is from at least before, just before it happened.
Director. New Mexico police have released all the files associated with the ongoing criminal investigation into Ms. Hutchins' death.
See it again.
New Mexico, the gun was fired, killing her and injuring the film's director.
If you look, you can also see he's cocking the gun.
For Helena Hutchins ever filmed, Alec Baldwin rehearsing a shooting scene. Moments later, the gun was fired, killing her and injuring the film's director. Moments later, the gun was fired, killing her and injuring the film's director.
And he admits to cocking the hammer on the pew-pew. Because that model, and I believe Ronkel did a very, very good video on testing if you could accidentally have a slip and then the hammer would hit the cartridge, or if you could pull it back and then a knock in some way by accident could make the pew-pew go off. Brendan Herrera, I believe, did it as well. And both of them got to the conclusion you can't, if everything is working, and we know from the agents who tested the gun, it was fully functional. There are two brakes on when you cock the hammer, there are two brakes on it. You can't slip it. You can't make it fire. There's not enough force to strike the spark cap. I don't know. The initial the initial percussion cap that makes the rest of it go off. So his story about him just cocking and then by accident it went off is also really bad. It doesn't make sense. If there was no intention to fire the blanks, why not use non-usable replicas for those scenes? Hopefully we'll find out during this trial, but I think some of it might come down to him as an actor believing that. That's why I'm saying he kind of have a god complex, because some of the other videos I've seen, he's running around firing it off, and even after they yell cut, he keeps going, probably because he can't hear them. Because for any of you who don't know pew-pews, they're loud. You really can't hear anything. And again, yeah, if it's a rehearsal, why don't you have an empty? Again, that's a thing. Yeah, there's millions of videos showing the hammer can't do it because there's a safety brake on the hammer. If you don't know how to handle a pew, you should not be handling one. But that's the problem. He also claims he's very good at it and he's very proficient with it, and he did all the things, but he didn't, of what I could see, do all the things. Hey all, sorry late, Melanie Little. Yeah, she was having a stream about the Sarah Birchmore trial. The primer, that's what I thought about. Yeah, percussion caps were back in the old just between the old flintlocks and modern weapons when you had a front loader. Well, he claims he knows how to do it. Fedorowski, this might be why he did it. Yes, and Hannah got 18 months in prison because she was negligent, and this is the same length of punishment Alec might have. But if we are to go through a timeline, it happened on 21st of October 2021. And on the 22nd, Baldwin posted a statement that he called it a tragic accident and said he was fully cooperating. And then I can remember there were some videos where his wife was talking for him, and his wife could only speak Spanish, and then she wasn't Spanish at all. And it was such a weird timeline. That's kind of why I didn't get into it, because it seems so weird. So yeah, he uses one in The Hunt for Red October. The governor of Mexico is trying to make the state the new Hollywood. No way she's allowed a Baldwin conviction. And yeah, that's what I said in the beginning, that this seems kind of like a two-tier justice system going on, because I'll get to it in a timeline, because the charges was withdrawn. Could be he was drinking too much coke. Could be. His father wasn't. Her father was a gun instructor. Got her the job. I think she did have the training for it, but it was wildly unregulated, that said. And that's what got her convicted. Because there were blanks mixed with dummies, mixed with live rounds, and it seemed like a set where they did everything to keep the cost low and nothing to make people safe. The only way the hammer can slip past the safety notches is to actively break them and or wear them down, just as the FBI testing did. Yeah, the FBI broke the gun because they tried to manipulate it so much that it could have done what he claimed it did. But when they got it, it worked perfectly. All the safeties worked. Hannah got thrown the book because she was negligent and refused to acknowledge her mistake, even blamed the victims. Those who were sorry for their part in the tragedy got a slap on the wrist. Yes, there was more people who pled guilty. She didn't do it. Hannah was totally ignorant about pew-pews when interviewed, never should have been in charge of providing them. And I think that's another thing that's the problem in this case, and might be a problem with Hollywood. I don't do social cultural commentary about we hire because of all the weird checklists, but she seems like she got the job because someone knew her dad, which nepotism is great if you benefit from it, not so great if someone goes away for it. But it kind of seems like she didn't really have the expertise and put a nervous, very young woman in charge of very deadly instruments, have a old, cranky, aggressive lead actor yelling at her to make everything the way he wants it. I could see how that dynamic could cause a lot of trouble. And again, apparently they used the film props to go out and just have joy pew-pewings when they're not filming. Again, why do that? Why not eliminate? I don't mind if you want to go out and do some target practice, or you want to have some fun, as long as you're safe. But then you bring things that is only for that. You don't use your film props because, again, accident happens, mistakes are made, and you just need one live one to make people go away. I know she was responsible for making sure that Pew Pew was safe, but as I said, when I was taught how to handle a weapon back when I was in the military, it's always your responsibility when you have your hand on the weapon. No matter how many people have checked it before you and said it's safe, you are the last one who makes sure it's safe. You check it any which way. This is an old school, so you would check the cartridges, but you never ever point it at anyone unless you are 100% sure this is safe. And again, why point it at anyone doing rehearsals? It's yeah. They broke it using a leather mallet. I would suggest not to buy from that manufacturer. I don't know what that is. Yes, that's what I got from it when I saw the updates on her. She seemed like a very young girl who was very naive, probably very full of herself. That's why she didn't want to. She could have gotten away if she had just pled guilty. She would have gotten a slap on the wrist as well. But she was arrogant and didn't recognize she had anything to do with it. But yeah, she's easy to push around. She's it was a low budget movie. She's probably very inexpensive. Um, Anyone watched Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry's pew training? They asked questions and were educating themselves of handing on the pews. Yes, because they took their job serious and the responsibility serious. In my thing, I'll point anything I want to. What are you talking about? Well, you can point at whatever you want with your finger guns. Pew pew. It takes nerve to stop something big. I did stop whole military fire annexes for safety issues. Minor, but had to be checked. Took half an hour to get permission to continue. I felt good. Yeah, I have been on those firing ranges where I've seen people being thrown to the ground because they turned around to ask a question. I've been on a hand grenade course where a guy wanted to see what happened when the grenade went off. He was also taught not to do that again in a very hands-on approach because it's dangerous toys, and it's not toys. It's it's an instrument that is perfectly safe and perfectly fine to have a handle if you follow the basic rules. This is your first safety. You always check if it's cleared, if it's okay, and then you do it. You never point it at anything you want want to have that you don't want to not be there when you're done pointing at it. Only the expert and his finger guns can do that. Pew pew. Because again, a lot of people. Actually, the second time I was in the States, I wanted to take my girls to a gun range because I wanted to show them that guns, if it, pew pews. It's so because in Europe we have this. Oh, America, it's the Wild West. Everyone is shooting out the windows all the time. But show them that it's just a tool. It's no different from the kitchen knife you have or your car you're driving. Everything can be turned into something bad if you don't follow simple, basic safety instructions. And I wanted my girls to try it because I was in the military, their mom was in the military. We use them. It's a tool, but you have to remember a few basic things. And it seems like Baldwin didn't do that. I think she had never had to accept responsibility. No, it seems like Daddy got her out of a lot of problems. Uh, some amount of safety must be followed on sets because we only had 3 unalivings in 30 years on God know how many films. The recent one, Brandon Lee, was in 93 and Jon Erik Hexum was in 84. That was Bruce Lee's uh, his did he get pew pew too? I think so. Not pulling that one out of it. Well, back to this. On the 24th, the producers from Ross sent out a letter to the crew announcing that they would be pausing the production. 17th of November, the script supervisor, Mamie Mitchell, filed a civil suit claiming that Baldwin and others involved with producing the film failed to keep the set safe. He did his first interview on the 1st of December, where he said he didn't pull the trigger and he had no idea how a live bullet got onto the set. And again, that'll be the crux of this matter. Well, this case, did he do this part? And in 12th of January, Hannah Gutierrez filed a lawsuit alleging that the ammunition boxes supplied by the prop provider failed to state that the content contained both dummy and live. Still your job. And the family of Hutchins filed a wrongful death in February, alleging reckless behavior and cost cutting by Baldwin and others that led to her death. And they were given a citation of 136,793 penalty, the maximum fine allowed for failures that led to her her avoidable unaliving. August 14th, FBI testing of the firearm used in the pew-pewing found it could not be fired without pulling the trigger while the pew-pew was cocked, according to the report. And in the 20th of August 22, Baldwin placed responsibility on Gutierrez and the first assistant director, David Halls. 5th of October, the family of Hutchins and Baldwin announced they had reached an undisclosed settlement in a wrongful death lawsuit filed against the actor and others. As part of the settlement, Matthew Hutchins, Helena's husband, took over as executive producer of Rust. 27th October 22, Santa Fe County sheriff investigators handed their report to Santa Fe First Judicial District Attorney Mary Carmack Altways. And the 19th of January last year, she said she would charge Baldwin and Gutierrez with 2 counts each of involuntary unaliving. On the 31st of January, they were officially charged, and 23rd of February, he pled not guilty, and the 24th, they fined the production one more time. 29th, District Attorney Carmack stepped away from prosecuting the case and appointed New Mexico's Attorney Kerry Morrissey and Jason Lewis to serve as special prosecutors. 31st of March, First Assistant David Halls, who had agreed to plead guilty to negligent use of a deadly weapon, received a suspended sentence of 6 months of probation. So that's the first one who admitted they did something wrong. On the 20th of April, New Mexico's special prosecutor dismissed the charges against Baldwin, citing new facts in the case, but said the charges may be refiled. And there's where I see there's this 2-tier system going, because Gutierrez wasn't released from her charges, which is weird. It wasn't until the 19th of January this year that he was charged with involuntary manslaughter again. And he pled not guilty one more time. In February, Gutierrez, her trial started, and she was found guilty in involuntary manslaughter after 3 hours jury deliberation. For us who just watched the Karen Reed case, that's a nothing. And she was acquitted on charges of evidence tampering. And she was sentenced to a maximum of 18 months in prison, and they have filed an appeal. Take it, get out. 24th of May, they denied Baldwin's motion to dismiss because he claimed it hadn't been properly presented to the grand jury. June 21st, they denied the defense motion, asking the court to dismiss the involuntary unaliving indictment. The defense had argued the viewing death of Hutchins was an accident and Baldwin is not criminally liable. 28th of June, the judge denied a motion to dismiss the involuntary unaliving related to the gun that was destroyed during the FBI's forensic testing. 9th of July, which will be 2 days from now, Tuesday, the jury selection is set to take place, and the 10th is when it's set to start, and it will probably last 8 to 9 days. So short little case, kind of interesting to see. His co-defendant has been charged and convicted. Took them 3 hours to get to this part.
Okay, you got both of them. Will the defendant please stand?
We find the defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, guilty of involuntary manslaughter as charged in count 1. We find the defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, not guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in count 2.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. Let me get those forms, retrieve those forms from you. I'm going to.
So this was the young lady who was in charge of the security on the set. She was found guilty in the same charges, and that's kind of where I thought, well, of course, Baldwin is guilty. And when people start asking, "Are you going to do this case?" and I thought, to be honest, I'm so biased against him. I think he's the biggest a-hole. He comes off as a really, really big a-hole in some of the interviews he did. He never, ever claimed any, because, of course, you can get sued if you claim any wrongdoing. But my problem is he comes off as a smug Hollywood elitist and blaming everyone but himself because he's infallible. And so I kind of want to cover the case just to say, well, he is a massive a-hole. But we will see if there's the pretrial hearing tomorrow. If it's going tomorrow, I will try and cover it. The only problem I have with this case is it's in New Mexico, so it'll be so late before I am done. But we can start later too, so that's pretty good. So I think we're gonna pick this up because nothing really has been out there, and let's give it a try. Well, you're guilty of that, not even in without being in trials. So I don't know. Wait, was there a second The Crow? Because I swear I remember seeing that movie in theaters with my dad. But if it was the 1993, that makes no sense. There was a second Crow. I don't think that ever made it to the movies. So yeah, and he was a producer, so he must have been involved in hiring Hannah, who made such a poor job. So that's the thing. It's kind of interesting, and that's why I feel like there's this double standard going on, because he's the big money guy. New Mexico is struggling. They're trying to get films into New Mexico to shoot movies there. They pay them with tax breaks to try and up money or business in New Mexico. And it kind of seemed like they wanted to let him slip for a while. So that's why, not so much if he's guilty or not guilty, because I will say I'm highly biased and I find him guilty. I'm pretty sure he's guilty. I will have to spend a long time to give him the benefit of the doubt. But of course, we will watch the case as always, not through the eyes of lawyers. There will be a lot of lawyers covering this case who will give you all the legal jargons, who will give you all of what, if any, arguments were good or bad. I will do what I always do, try to keep it a bit lighthearted. Hopefully, Jamie will join me, and we will sit here and do the normal thing we do. Have fun, talk with chat, see if the case is interesting, and discuss it with you. Because that's what I like to do. You won't get all statute 45-33. I don't know what it is, but we'll work it out together, and hopefully it'll be interesting, because we need something interesting. I get her being guilty, but he's not a weapons expert. Doesn't matter. He still has a responsibility because he is handling the firearm. but he's a producer. He has responsibility. Well, I think he's actually more responsible than her, because he hired the person who was to make his pew pew safe, and he didn't check it after. So, kind of for me, he's more guilty than she is. Runkle is covering. I might be in both places. I know Runkle is covering, and he is amazing. I know Branka is covering, amazing. I know there's a new collection of law tubers. You won't get that much law here. You would get more fun. Well, not more fun. All the other people have fun. You'll get me trying to make Jamie laugh more. That's what I'm saying. You'll probably get Zach making super chats that make me uncomfortable. And we'll just have a good time. And by the way, thank you so much, Iris, for the 5 gifted Broken Baker memberships. That's so kind of you. And it's gone, so I can't even say who got it. But everyone who got it, check out, we have a Discord where we sometimes do voice chats. The last 2 days, we've been sitting in there discussing everything under the sun. We discuss cases. We discuss who adopted the last animal. We discuss everything in there. How I might have been a bad boy when I was a kid. So check the member tab. There's a link to the Discord. If you want to be on the Discord and is not a member, it's not a pay to play. Contact Marissa, Jamie, Whiskey, or Irish, and they will help you figure out how to get on the Discords. He's innocent right now, hasn't been tried yet. For once in my life, I want to say he's an a-hole. He's clearly guilty. I want to be the plebeian of this case. Rule of the pew pew. Don't point it at anything you don't want unalived, and always treat it as if it's loaded. I agree. Jamie will bring her chirping birds. See you all tomorrow. Well, see you, Aaron. Fun is here. Well, Jamie's not here today, so yeah. And DUI guy will be in court. I think there's more people going down there to be in the court. I think Runkle is trying to get to court as well. So that's going to be interesting. As a person who do a lot of jury duty, being in court is boring. Because whenever there's a downtime, you can't sit and talk and make fun. What an aspiration. Make Jim laugh. No, I really don't like him. I think he's a prick the way he handled this. Well, I don't do politicals because I live in a socialist country and the only right thing is socialism. I have to say that or my government will hunt me down. Then I'll be at Doink. I lost my train of thought. No, but we will keep an eye out. It should be tomorrow at, and now I have to think because now we're on Central Time, I believe. So tomorrow at 12:30, I think, is when the hearing is supposed to be. And if it goes live, I will cover it at 10:30 tomorrow. Tuesday, while they pick the jury, there's a police interview with Baldwin that we will do on Tuesday just to get our engines running. And Wednesday should be opening statements. So I hope you might swing by watching it here with us. It's going to be the usual shenanigans. How often must I do duty under your system? I sign up for 4 years at the time at they say minimum 4 times a year, but I am I'm on the quick call list, so this year I haven't been that active. I think I've had 8 or 9 cases this year. But most of them is just one-day cases. It's the level I'm in is from where you can get from like a suspended sentence to 4 years maximum is normally where we are. I have had cases that's bigger than that because they choose to have a speedy trial, so they want to do it with us. So I did do an unaliving once and stuff like that. So I have tried those too, but most of it is simple street violence. Friday night, someone bumps into someone and just rearranges their face. Smaller amounts of the fun stuff, and cases like that. I've been doing it for 13 years. I only caught one hit case so far, so thank God for that. But there are also a lot of those in the part of the system I am in. Before I go, is Taylor Swift where you are right now, or somewhere kind of near you in some socialist country, or do you not know these things? Who's Taylor Swift? I tend toward Baker's view on this one. His actions was clearly directed and negligent of both, and he acted like safety was a big joke to him until it all went wrong. Then it's everyone else's fault. Yes, we will treat him fairly. If the state doesn't prove it, I have done that in every case I cover. I'm always a hard ass on the state. They must even though I dislike him, and I think he really poo-pooed the bed. He Amber Hearded the bed in this one. I would still have the state have to prove it. I said it in Adam Montgomery trial. I said it. What's the other one where he was clearly guilty? I can't remember that, but in the Adam Montgomery trial, even though I hated just the sight of that man and I was happy he didn't show up to court, he clearly did that to his daughter. I still didn't think the state proved it. And I will be honest about my opinion, but just know I am highly biased against Alec Baldwin. I think he's a massive idiot, and it's up to his defense to show me he actually was misrepresented. But in my opinion, it's always the state that has to prove guilt. If they don't do it, I'll sit here and say he's a monster idiot, and I still think he's guilty, but they didn't prove it. That's how I call balls and strike equally, even though I might dislike people very, very much. Exactly, as Kestrel says it. The state has the burden of proof. I'm Swifty too. Or Taylor Swift. Did she make it to Denmark this year? Yeah, I think she made it to Denmark this year. I read it. Me and Valhalla is Swifties. That's the first song he played for me when I landed in Knoxville. Was Tay Tay. Shake It Off. Your step granddaughter is in Portugal for Swift. Oh, I've never been to Portugal. I would like to go there. If only Swift's Ghostwriter got the same notoriety, then the world would care. I don't. Yeah. So it's going to be a day ending, and why? You and Jamie yelling at me? What is this case about? Oh, you just came in the very end. This is back from 2020, where Alec Baldwin allegedly cocked a pew-pew, pulled the trigger, unalived one person, and injured a second person. He claimed he didn't do it. The state will now try him for involuntary unaliving, which will maximum give him a sentence of 18 months. He claims he didn't do it. He claimed he never touched the trigger, that it must have been an accident. He claims that the armorer on the set of the movie Rust, Hannah Gutierrez, who has been convicted for and sentenced to 18 months, is the one to blame for it. She claims that the bullets got mixed up and she didn't know what to do it. So this is what we're going to find out if the state can prove that he did this without making sure the weapon was safe before he did it. That's basically what this is about. She was in Amsterdam. Well, that's a little. That'll probably take me like 8-9 hours to go there. It was supposed to be a blank. I think it was supposed to be a dummy round even. So that's it. At a movie set, yes. And come back Tuesday when we're loading up. I'll find some more of the clips of him running around juggling with pew-pews all the time. This was just a quick little, hey, let's get hyped for tomorrow. Because I need to meet my weekly quota or Jamie will take away my food. Just one question. If he's found guilty, do we think he would actually go to prison? Then we will look at the two-tier justice system again. Because she went to prison. Why shouldn't he? Because he has money? Because he's famous? Wesley Snipes cheated on taxes and he went away. He will probably go to a nice I have money prison. That's not St. Quentin, but still, if she went away, why shouldn't he? I think that's going to be my interest in this case, is the two-tier justice system. George Stephanopoulos' interview with Alec, very damaging, in my opinion. Yeah. You don't know a lot about pew-pew things. The end that's with the hole in it should always point away from you, and keep your finger off the trigger. That's all you need to know. It was a gift from my very good friend Little D, and she has a birthday today. She's turning 25. So if you're out there, happy birthday, Little D. Well, it's not a whole other country. It's just 2 countries away. So yeah. 6 months in the Netherlands. I only been there like 5-10 times. Helen lives there. Yes, schrift footloose. I can't do that in my head. What's it if it's in the script? Well, it's okay if it's in the script, but normally then you will have to take extra precautions. And this was a rehearsal, so there was no reason to have the finger on the trigger or cock the hammer or even have rounds in it. But as Fedorowski said earlier, he's a method actor. I'll bet you he has some excuse about, well, I have to feel what the gun would feel like when it's loaded because I have to feel how my character would feel if he had a real gun. So I can't have it unloaded because that's not how my character would carry it around. I have to be in my character all the time. Like one of those weirdos who, what's his name? Jared Lethrow, whatever it is. So, it's, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm a method actor too. I method acted as a Hollywood elitist snob. So that's what I do. No, but this was just a short teaser for a case I'm going to pick up, even though I have said for the last 2 weeks I'm not going to touch it. I will jump on it tomorrow. Should be pre-trial hearing. If it's not going live, we will do something else. I'll try and see if Jamie want to join me. Then we'll find something. Tuesday, we'll watch the police interrogation of him. Blanks have no projectile, so it's flat at the end of the casing. Yeah, and it's crimped with a little block in the end. But if you have a blank gun, sometimes they have a plug in the barrel, and that can be shot out. That's what happened to Brandon Lee. Is that my acting voice? No, that is my I'm a Hollywood elitist actor acting voice. Because I was told yesterday I can't do my southern accent anymore. On this one, I don't know. I don't know that one. So, but thank you all so much for watching, and I'll find someone who's live that can entertain you for the rest of the night, and I hopefully will see you tomorrow when we look into the final pre-trial hearing, if it's being televised. Watch the Southern accent, apparently highly offensive. You can still do your Danish accent. It's always allowed. I'm not going to bed. I'm just going on the couch watching a movie because I have to prepare. I'm getting a new tattoo tomorrow, so I need some. Oh, thank you so much. But someone said yesterday they were tired because it was a caricature of a Southern accent. So, which it should be. But I was also told I was racist because I didn't want to do an Asian accent. But it's the internet. Someone will always have something bad to say about you. The only good thing I can say is, hopefully I can see you tomorrow.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No,
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
no,
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
probably did. Everybody has.
So there-
Everybody has.